Hey guys, and welcome to another video, and happy Halloween week. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make these dancing pumpkin charms, and also how to turn them into this dancing pumpkins bracelet. I think these are super cute and perfect for the season, and you can do a lot more with them. You can turn them into earrings like I did here, or necklaces, whatever you want to do. But they're pretty easy to make, and it's actually my first monster tail design. It's a hybrid between a monster tail and a hook design. The top half is made on the monster tail and the legs are made on the hook. But yeah, let's just jump into it. Hey, so I'm recording this after I finished the tutorial, but I just wanted to pop in and say, if you're watching this before November 26th of 2025, I'm currently hosting a huge giveaway contest, so if you're interested in winning some huge prizes, you can click the video that's at the top of the screen and learn more there. But I'll let you get back to the video. So to make this design, you will need a monster tail, but if you don't have one of those, you can also use a loom. Just configure the pins where they're parallel and you have like a section of 4 to work on here. You will need a hook, and you will need one C-clip to work with. And then you will need some scissors. I have my little scissors guy right here. And for your colors, I recommend using 4. So 1 color for the stem up here, and I'm using dark green again. 2 colors for the pumpkin part. For that, I'm using dark purple and lavender. And 1 color for like the bones, and for that, I'm using white again. And 1 note for these white bands, I recommend using bands that are a little stretchier and flimsier, because if you use really stiff bands like the premium bands, it will look a little bit blocky and weird. So yeah, flimsier bands for the bones. If you're also making the bracelet, you will need 1 color for this linking band right here. And for that, I'm just going to be using clear again. And yeah, let's just get into it. So just before we get started, I do want to mention this is the first time I've ever used any type of loom on the camera, so please bear with me. I'm going to be trying my best. So we're going to be working on these 4 pegs right here. And the first thing you want to do is get whatever color you're using for your stem and place it over those 4 bands. And now I'm going to zoom in for this next part. And we're going to twist this band over all 4 pegs in a clockwise motion. So we're going to start with this peg right here, and we're going to pull it to the left of the peg and twist it over to the right. And we're going to do that with all 4, so we'll move to this peg now, pull it over toward the left, and twist it to the right. Now we're going to come to this peg, pull it to the left, and twist it towards the right, and then on this peg. And we should have something that looks like this, and we can push it down. And now you're going to want to get your first pumpkin color and place it all over all 4 pegs and push down, and then get your second pumpkin color and do the same thing and push down. And it should look like this. And now we're going to want to pull the bottom band on each peg over. So pull it over the peg like this, and do that on all 4. And then now we don't want to push down, and instead we want to get whatever color we have on top. So for me, that's dark purple, and place it on the bottom of all 4 pegs. And it should look something like this. So now we are going to be using a technique from Yarn Journey called switch looping. So the most important thing for this is, instead of holding your hook like a pencil, we're going to hold it like a knife, like this. And I'll show you why in a second. So I'm going to zoom in again. And what we're going to do is, with our hook holding it like a knife, we're going to go in between these first 2 bands and only go through the second band. Then you're going to hold it with your thumb and make sure it's very secure. Then we're going to grab this bottom band here and pull both of them over the peg, drop that second band with your thumb, then only put the third band back on the top of the peg. And when you're done, it should look something like this. And now we're going to do the same thing on all 4 pegs. You may have to push this third band back down. So holding our hook like a knife, we're going to go in between the first 2, then only go through the second, and then hold it with your thumb and do the same thing. So grab the third band, now pull both of them over, only drop the second band with your thumb, and only put the third band back on top of the peg. And it should look like this. Now we're going to do that on the other side. So we'll go through the first 2, or go in between the first 2 bands, then only go through that second band and hold it with your thumb. Then grab the third band, pull both bands over the peg, drop the second band, then only put the third band back on top of the peg. And now, one last time. So get your hook, go in between the first 2, then only go through the second, hold it with your thumb, grab the third, pull both over, drop the second with your thumb, then only put the third band back on top of the peg. And when you're done, you should only have 2 dark purple bands on each peg, and it should look like this. So now we are going to do the switch looping method one more time. So this time you want to get whatever color you don't have on any of your pegs right now. So for me, that's that lavender. And you're going to put that on the bottom of all 4 pegs. And then I'm going to zoom in again. Now you want to hold your hook like a knife again. And we're going to do the same thing. So go in between these first 2 bands, only go through the second band, and then hold it with your thumb. Pick up that bottom third band, bring both over the peg, drop that band you're holding with your thumb, then only put the third band back on the top of the peg. And it should look like this. And make sure that this third band stays on the bottom here. Now we're going to come to this peg right here. Go in between the top 2. Only go through the second and hold it with your thumb. Pick up the bottom band, pull both over the peg, drop that second band with your thumb, then only put the third band back on the top of the peg, like this. Now we're going to do the same on the other side. So come to this peg here, go through the top 2 bands with your hook, only go through the second band, then hold it with your thumb, pick up the third band, pull both over the hook, drop the second band with your thumb, then only put the third band back on the top of the peg. Now, one more time. So go through the top 2, only go through the second and hold it with your thumb, pick up the third, pull both over, drop that second band with your thumb, then only put the third band back on the top of the peg. And it should look something like this on all 4 pegs, and you can just push down now. So we are done switch looping, and you now want to get whatever color you're using for your bones, and you're going to place that over the top of all 4 pegs. And now, you're just going to want to simply pull up this bottom band on each peg over the peg. So do that for all 4 pegs. Now you should have 2 bands on each peg, and we're going to do the same thing. So pull the bottom band on each peg over the peg. And we should have something that looks like this. So we are done with the pumpkin head part, and we now want to work on the bones. So just make sure that everything on your monster tail is pushed down, and you want to pick 2 pins to work on. I want to work on these 2 pins, so we're going to transfer everything to this pin right here. So to start, I'm going to grab this band right here, and be very careful when you do this because you do not want to drop the bands. But we're going to pull it over to this peg, like this. Just push down. Now we're going to do that with this one over here. So carefully pull it off and transfer it to that pin. So there should be 3 white bands on this pin so far, and there should be 1 more. So we're going to pull this over and be very careful that you don't drop it to this pin. So you should now have 4 bands on this pin. So now I like to adjust this little pumpkin so it sits kind of directly facing this pin right here. And now make sure it's pushed down as much as you can, and we're going to put 3 white bands on these 2 pins here. So I'm going to get 1 white, place it over those 2 pins, do that 2 more times. Make sure they're not overlapped or anything. And it should look something like this with 7 bands on this pin right here and 3 bands on this pin. And now we're going to be very careful during this next part. But on the pin with 7 bands, we're going to skip the first 3 and come to these next 2 right here. And we're going to pull those over those top 3. And then we're going to do that with the bottom 2 here. Pull it over. And it should look like this. And I like to adjust this little pumpkin with my hook so it kind of like sits in the middle of the bands, if that makes sense. And I like to adjust it so it kind of faces completely downward. But it should look something like this now. So we now want to get another white band and place it on the top of these 2 pins. And I'm going to zoom in again. I apologize for all of the zooming. It's the only way I can get it to focus. But there should be 4 bands on each pin. And then on each pin, we're going to take these middle 2 bands here and flip them over. So we'll do that on both sides. And now we want to get these 2 top bands on each pin and put it on our hook. Make sure you're only grabbing those top 2. And then we're going to want to get our C-clip, and we're going to clip these 2 bands on our hook. Make sure that everything below stays on the pins. And I know this looks a little awkward, but we should have something that looks like this. Okay, so if you haven't noticed, these 2 bands on these pins right now are the arms. So we're going to finish those up. So to start, we're going to get a white band and place it on these 2 pins right here. Now we're going to get our hook. And on this pin with 2 bands, we're going to pull up that bottom band and pull it over. Now this pin right here, we're going to carefully pull this band over to the pin next to it. And then I just like to adjust it so it's sitting straight like this. And now we're going to pull this bottom band on this pin, pull it over. And we're going to do something a little weird now. So we're going to pinch off this band on this pin that we just flipped the band over. And we're going to pull really tight. Not tight enough to break it, but tight enough so it creates a very secure knot. And it should look like this. And then we're going to place that band back on the peg so like the knot is sitting like this. And now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So our first step is to get a white band. place it on these 2 pins. Then on this pin with 2 bands here, we're going to pull the bottom band over. Then this pin right here, we're going to carefully pull this band over to the pin next to it. If I can get it on. Okay. And then I like to adjust it so it goes straight like this. Now we're going to flip the bottom band on this pin over. Then we're going to do the same weird knotting thing again. So we're going to pinch it off and pull super tight, but not tight enough to break it, like this. And now we can actually pull the entire thing off. And it should look like this little mess right here. So now that we're at this point here, we now want to deal with these arms now. So we're gonna get our scissors. So I have my little guy right here. And if you are a child, please have a parent or guardian present because I do not want any of you guys hurting yourself. But we're gonna get our hook. And now with one of the arms, we're gonna go through the very end of it like this. And when you do this, please make sure that you're cutting away from you. And we want to cut right before this little knot right here. So we'll cut right before the knot, like this. And you should be left with something that looks like this. And we want to do that on the other side as well. So go through the very end of the arm and make sure you're cutting away from you. And cut right above this little knot right here. I can't see very well. I hope I'm cutting at the right spot. Okay, yeah. So once you do that, you should have 2 cute little arms like this, and you can kind of tug on them just very gently so they sit correctly. But now we can work on the legs. So the legs are done entirely on the hook, but it is extremely easy, I promise you. So we're going to set this to the side right now and get a white band. And we're going to make a triple cap band on the hook. So the way you do that is just twist a band 3 times on the hook, like this. Now we're going to get our little guy right here and come to the C-clipped band and put that on the hook and unclip. And now we're going to tug on it like this and flip that triple cap band over the hook and onto our little skeleton. And we're going to roll it all the way up the body so it sits on that double band like this. So we're now going to finish the legs by slip knotting each of the bands on the hook. So to do that, we'll get a white band and pull it through the first band on the hook and close. And then we're going to flip the second band over that first band and over the hook like this. Now we're going to pinch it off and tug super tight and make a very secure knot, but don't break the band. So it should look like that. And then we'll do the same thing to this other band. So get a white, pull it through and close, then flip the second band over, and then pull super tight, enough so you don't break the band, but you make a very secure knot. And it should look like this. And now we can cut and trim these legs. So to do that, just put it on your hook, get your scissors, and again cut away from you, and then cut right above the knot, like that. And we'll do the same thing on this other leg. So put the end of it on the hook and cut away from you and cut right above the knot. And it should look something like this. Now we're almost done, but you may notice that it looks a little wonky right now. So to fix it, if you want to even out the arms up here, you just gently tug on one side until it looks how you want it to. And then for the legs, you may notice that they look a little bow-legged right now. So the way to fix that is this triple cap band that we rolled up here earlier, you just slightly roll it down. So you just keep pulling it down until it kind of cinches the legs a little bit. but you don't want to pull it down too far, just enough so it looks like this. And once you have done that, you have your charm. And if you just wanted the charm, you're done. But I'll show you how to make the bracelet now. So to turn the little skeletons into a bracelet, you're gonna need to make a few of them, obviously. I make 8 for my wrist size, but it could be up to 10 depending on how big your wrist is. And then once you have made those, we are going to make it only on the hook, just because it's easier for me. And you can attach it to any type of bracelet. I'm going to teach you how to attach it to a French braid bracelet, but you can also do a fishtail, a single chain, you know, whatever you want. So let's get started. So we're going to get our hook, and you want to get whatever color you're using for your bones. So for me that was white. And you're going to make a figure 8 cap band on the hook. Now, if you look in the bracelet here, I like to do 2 halves. So 1 half is the white, and then 1 half is the colors. So I'm going to be doing that again, just to clarify. So you're going to get one of your white and one of your color bands. And you want to position it on your hook where it goes white, and then purple, and then the hook, like this. Now you're going to pull it through the cap band, and close. And you want to rearrange it where the purple is sitting inside of the white, like this. And now you're going to want to get one of your color bands, pull it through all 4 bands on your hook, skip the first band, pick up the second band, skip the third, and pick up the 4th band. Then we'll close, and it should look like this. And now you're going to want to grab one of your skeletons. And you want to position it where it's facing towards you, like this. And if we look at the top here, there's 4 green lines, 2 going up and down, and 2 going left and right. We're going to want to pick up the ones that are going up and down. So we'll go through them and pick them up like this. And it should look like this. And now you want to get whatever color you're using to link the skeletons, so whatever you're using for that clear band. And you're going to get that, pull it through the skeleton, and close. And now we're going to get our white band, pull it through the skeleton, and through those 4 bands. Then you're going to pick up the first band, skip the second, and pick up the 3rd band. Then you'll close. And it should look like this. And now this is where the pattern starts. The pattern is a little confusing, but you can always come back to here. There will be a timestamp, and you can follow along. So now we're going to pull through 7 bands, 4 color bands, and 3 white bands. So get one of your color bands, pull through all 4, skip the first band, pick up the second band, skip the third, and pick up the 4th, then close. Now we'll get one of our white bands, pull it through all 4, pick up the first, skip the second, and pick up the third, and close. Now we'll get one of our color bands, pull through all 4, skip the first, pick up the second, skip the third, and pick up the 4th, and close. Now we'll get one of our white bands, pull through all 4, pick up the first, skip the second, and pick up the third, and close. And now we'll get one of our color bands, pull through all 4, skip the first, pick up the second, skip the third, and pick up the 4th, then close. Now we'll get one of our white bands, pull through all 4, pick up the first, skip the second, and pick up the third, then close. And now we have one more band to pull through, which is a color band. Pull through all 4, skip the first, pick up the second, skip the third, and pick up the fourth, and close. Now we're just going to want to get another one of our skeletons. And then you're going to look at the top again and make sure it's facing towards you like this. And go through the bands that are going up and down. Like this. Get one of your linking colors. Pull through the skeleton. And then we'll get a white band. Pull through those 2 clear bands and those 4 bands. Then we'll pick up the first and the third band and close. And it should look something like this. Sometimes these bands want to come uncrossed, but it should look like this. And now we are at like the pattern repeat. So if you need help following along to continue your bracelet, there will be a timestamp back at this point where you can go back to and follow along. So yeah, I'll see you when my bracelet is full length. So I've made my bracelet as long as I want it. And I just finished at the point where I just pulled through one of these skeletons. And to finish it off, I get a white band and just pull it through everything on the hook and close. Then I'll get one of my C-clips, clip this, and then there you have it. So that was the tutorial for my Dancing Pumpkins charm/bracelet, and I hope you guys enjoyed. I know that this tutorial was a little weird with it being half monster tail and half hook only, but I tried to make it as easy as possible. So I hope that you enjoyed, and if you do make this, it would be super cool if you could post it to Instagram and use the hashtag Dancing Pumpkins Charm or Dancing Pumpkins Bracelet, and tag my Instagram account at foresthook. And if you enjoyed the video, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean the world to me as I put a ton of effort into these videos. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.